we live? Okay, Instagram works well. Good. Okay, and so the other one's working well too. TikTok. How about YouTube? Is that on and Facebook, you guys? Because I can't tell. Yes. Okay. Jesus. What a bummer. God. Anyways, welcome to Sunday Night Live, Monday morning live. Here we are. The heck. Anyway, wow. My sincere apologies. Okay, so, and I don't even see how this works anymore. It's just not. I can't tell if people are able to. I don't want. Okay, so I'm on YouTube, right? I'm on Facebook. Is that true? But I just can't tell. I can't see your comments because it won't tell me. It's not the same. Why is it not the same as last week? How can it not be the same? Change avatar. What's an avatar? I don't have an avatar. Never miss a comment. I'm on? No. Anyone on YouTube send me a message or Facebook? Yeah, I don't know. Okay, whatever. I'm going to assume I'm on because it says live. Okay, whatever. Okay. Anyway, so here we are. Thank you so much. It's Monday morning here, and right across the road is a beautiful ocean. I'm going to tell you something about the ocean. Perpetually and endlessly, I hear it's the rhythm of life. It's the rhythm of life, and you all know that rhythm of life. It's the same rhythm that we hear when we're in our mother's uterus, and we're hearing the heartbeat. It's that same rhythm, that rhythm of life, and it's just fantastic. And we miss it. We miss that rhythm. We miss, we're connected to this artificial world, which is some binary electromagnetic freak built of silicon and not carbon. So it means it's not human, it's not biological, and yet we're interacting with it as if it's anyway, it's fantastic across the street, across the road, and that's why I live here. I live here for many reasons, but one is just because it's a wonderful way to live, and all I do is put this away and walk across, and I'm there. I am in back on the planet Earth. And sorry, I can't see it. Yes, you are. Keto by Daniel. Facebook is on. Okay. All right. Cool. Okay. So anyway, I wanted to. There's a little angel out there. Her name is Melody, and she just turned 5 years old. And can you imagine being 5 years old, and your whole life? I remember when I was young. You had this endless view or endless conception of life, and it's really beautiful. It's really beautiful. So happy birthday, and I'm sure you're outside. What is it? Morning? No, it's night for you, so you may not be outside. Okay, but anyway, I'm sure you were outside all day. You might even still be outside with your shoes off on the ground, making some kind of salad or something, and hanging out with nature. I'm sure. All right, beautiful. Okay. This is wonderful. I have a hard time recovering from this kind of artificial madness, but here I am. Okay, so anyway, doing well. Yeah. Hi, Carrie. Doing well. I think I'm doing well. Yeah. So anyway, all right, you guys. So let's get going. Let's do this because that's why we're all here. And what I want to, oh, I know what I got to say. I got to do the thing, right? I got to explain all this stuff because somebody might just not have been here before. And anyway, let's get rid of that. And where are we? Oh, we don't need that for now, but we do need, we don't need that. I've been doing a lot of research recently on biological dentistry because why? Because I am giving a talk next week, a lecture next week at at the HEAT conference in Bangkok, HEAT. I forget what it stands for, but health, education. I don't know. Anyway, it's an amazing conference, and it's in Bangkok, and it's on the 15th to the 17th, and there should be some pretty cool speakers. And anyway, if you're in the neighborhood, please come. Come to the HEAT conference 2024. It'll be fantastic. And you can see what's happening here. Okay, so again, so remember 3 groups, and I know you're saying, okay, we heard that, Lodi, we heard that. When are the 3 groups starting? And like probably in a week, around that time, because we're going to have this meeting on the 8th, whenever the 8th is, and after that 8th, when that's going to be the last meeting, and then it's going to start. So anyway, it's coming. But remember, we have health and healing group, which is going to talk about health and healing, which is what we're all talking about, really. And the second group will be parasites, because we have to focus on parasites. I don't know if you all had a chance to see Stu Peters gave. I did a short interview with him, but and it's too bad because I know he wants to know more. He didn't. I don't think he realized how much is going on with parasites. But anyway, that'll be good. I hope we can do more with that. But anyway, I'm real excited about that group getting started, and of course the CFC group, which is where I've been focusing my the last 40 years working on, and oh yeah, for those of you, it's the first time, because I've seen people say, what are CFCs? CFCs are chronically fermenting cells, which are what's going on inside of people's bodies when they have a tumor. Okay, so that's what it is. They're really chronically fermenting cells. And we're going to use that term. We're going to use that term. Why? Because that term is real. It tells us what's going on, and it doesn't convey any negative emotion. It doesn't convey fear. Okay, and that's what we don't want to do. We don't want to convey fear, because fear gets us nowhere except in trouble, right? So anyway, so we're not going to use that. We're going to use chronically fermenting cells. And we're going to also use a lot of words. What I think one of the most important things we do when we all talk is to make sure we have the same definition of terms, so that we are communicating, right? Because if I'm, for example, let's say the word. I mean, we have to, not every word we have to define, but I mean, think of something as simple as shower. The word shower. Okay, so let's say for one person, a shower means that every day it's this incredible ritual where they get into the shower and they wash every part. They get in between every toe, all the fingernails and the toenails, and everything is scrubbed down, and they use a brush, and and they wash their hair, and then for other people it's just they get in, they clean up really easily, and they get out. So to those 2 people, showers have different meanings. However, in general, they mean one thing. But what I like to do is make sure that we really have the same definition of words, so that we can talk, so that we can communicate. And I'll do that all the time with you. So, and I also, if I ever meet you and we're talking and you use a word that is not in your best interest because it makes you afraid, I don't know, like that, that word, that terrible word that it never used to be terrible. I mean, I used to just think of it as a zodiac sign, and now it's become all this Rockefeller stuff. Anyway, forget Rockefeller, right? Although he hasn't forgotten us. So those 3 groups are going to be starting, and we're going to have a private chat that we can talk on, and I'm going to be giving you lots of live. We're going to do live events. And I'll answer questions in real time, not questions that were sent in. And I'm going to get some guests on there, and it's just going to be great. But we're going to talk about the reality of things, because what I've noticed is that nobody out there, doctors, um, and even other non-doctor, non-medical, or whatever we call doctors, that are still clinicians, that are still dealing with people. Most, yes, 99% are still stuck in the disease model. And the disease model is a myth. The disease model is a myth, and it's a myth that is like quicksand. You're stuck with it. Whenever I have to use the word, I have to use it just so I can. Do we live on? We live on um, a planet that was incredibly, incomprehensibly perfect, and we have artificialized it to the max, almost to the max. Yeah, so you and I are, we're not, we don't have, our references in our lives are not the references of nature and of waterfalls and springs and lakes and fields and forests. That's not our references that make up our mind. Our references are our websites, computers, gadgets, streets, GPS, gas stations, supermarkets, looking at packages and trying to figure out what the hell we're eating. Those are our references. That's where we live. And anyway, so now we're on. This is on X or Twitter, right? And it's at Dr. Thomas Lodi, MD. You can find it on there. Everywhere else, LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram, Facebook, TikTok, it's at Dr. Thomas Lodi, no MD, Dr. Thomas Lodi. And of course, they're all recorded except TikTok. And TikTok hasn't yet knocked me off. Can you imagine? Of course, I've noticed that used to be there were more and more people joining it, but not anymore. So anyway, I think TikTok is good. The battery's running out on TikTok. So go to Rumble. Let's all start doing a Rumble thing, because Rumble and I guess X, I think, Elon is hard to figure out, man. I mean, he wants to put chips in our brain, put up 20,000 satellites, and yet he's a cool guy, huh? He's getting us driving around in electric cars that they can turn off and do whatever they want with it. And meanwhile, we're sitting in an electromagnetic web of toxic frequencies. So, I mean, I'm confused. And yet he seems cool because he wants to give free speech. But is that a way of, I don't know. The way we live now, the world we live in, is like you can't trust anything that you used to trust. You can't trust anymore. You can't trust anything, right? It's just really weird. I want to believe, and I still do. When I meet the average person anywhere, I absolutely believe them. But I've really developed this really amazing and specific antenna for bullshit, and it's like I can smell it, feel it. It's got the energy and all that. So, yeah. Anyway, and I'm going to say things that I know is going to really anger a lot of you people, because you're locked into certain ideas and beliefs about how about the way it is, and you've got assumptions about life, and you're just not going to give them up, and that's okay. But I'm here to shake it all up. I want to do, as I would like us all to take all the assumptions that we have, and believe me, everything we do is based on an assumption. When you take a step, you're assuming that gravity is going to be working. You're assuming that you're landing with your foot is landing with the right at the right angle. I mean, there's all these incredible. Those are just some of the assumptions, But the assumptions about life, like we got here because there was a big bang. I have no idea what that means. We got here with a big bang, or we got here because there's a guy somewhere who made us and gave us a bunch of rules and told us he loves us, and yet if we break the rules, we're going to hell forever. Or, there's different views and assumptions that we have, and a lot of people are stuck with them. I mean, not stuck with them. That's who they are, and they just won't give them up. We gotta get. So anyway, and I'm not here to tell you the truth, anything, because the truth can't be said. It can't be written. It can't be said. It can only uh, be visited and experienced if you're blessed. But I'm just here to help you ask the right questions, to teach you to question it, right? Because we learned how to read in school. Remember, we learned how to read, but they forgot to tell us or teach us how to question what we read, right? As we got to question what we read, question what we hear. And if somebody says to you, by the way, listen, there's this very dangerous thing around here. You can't see it, but it's there, and so therefore I want to inject you with something. So if someone wants to do that to you, don't just say, okay. Say, whoa, 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 whoa. First of all, I can't see it, but anyway, let's assume it's there. Now you're going to inject me with what? What is it exactly? So in other words, what I'm saying is take become the participating occupant of your earth suit. Okay, you got this earth suit here, and don't let anybody mess with it, because if you lose the earth suit, there's no place for you to be on this planet. You can't hang out on the planet. So you got to take care of the earth suit. Don't let anybody do anything to you. All right, question everything. All right. I mean, did I tell you? If you ever see people they're wearing masks, right? They're wearing masks to protect themselves and to protect themselves against poisons and nasty things. And then they take the mask off, and what they put in their mouth is poison. And then they put the mask back on. So, irony of ironies. That's one of the ironies of life. Anyway, so here we are. And today we're going to get started with some questions. And I just got to find my questions. Where are they? All right. So, there was a question here. It was by Denise. I hope you're out there, Denise, because the question was, I heard you speak at the 2023 Ozone Conference in Dallas. Someone on the platform shared that they had reversed a G6P deficiency. Was it you? If so, can you please share your protocol? Thank you. Yeah, that was you. That was the conference put on by Schallenberger, right? Frank Schallenberger. And I think I mentioned it there. So what I said was, and what I've learned is, you all know what G6PD is, glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase. All right, it's an enzyme that kind of keeps our cleanses and detoxifies. It's in our cells, and there's a lot of it in red blood cells, because red blood cells are very different than other cells in our body. Red blood cells don't have a nucleus, they don't have mitochondria, so they pretty much act like CFCs, right? They only last about 120 days because there's no nucleus. They can't replace their parts. Remember, the nucleus, the DNA, is the parts department, right? So that's what it does. It replaces the parts. So that doesn't have that. So, but anyway, but it's got glucose 6-phosphate dehydrogenase to protect it from oxidative assaults. So if you have a deficiency in producing that enzyme, then you're going to be very susceptible, and your red blood cells will be susceptible to being damaged by living, by being alive, and by a lot of things can be toxic, like you can't eat fava beans, but there's a lot of other things you can't be exposed to if you've got a G6P deficiency. And it's a simple blood test, and if anybody's ever going to give you intravenous ozone or intravenous vitamin C, they've got to do a G6PD test first and make sure that you have adequate amounts. So I had a woman, and this is the story. This is what happened. I had a woman who had very severe CFCs of her breast, and it was really, really quite deforming and all that. And anyway, wonderful lady, and so and she had like her G6PD was really low, like 3 or 4, very low. And she told me she knew it already, and she couldn't eat certain things and all that. And I realized that you can't help someone with who has CFCs if you don't use intravenous vitamin C. I mean, you can, but you came to the center. We got to do that, and to not do that is going to be. I mean, so anyway, I just said, well, we're going to do it anyway. So we gave her just 15 grams IV, and we did it. And I kept checking, make sure her haptoglobin didn't go down, which goes down if. Okay, what happens is, let's say you didn't check and someone had a low G6PD, they had a deficiency, and you gave them 50 grams of vitamin C IV. A large percentage of their red blood cells would burst, and their urine would turn red, and they would get very sick. It could die. So that's what G6PD deficiency does. Yeah, one level is red blood cells. So, and one way you can tell that is that there's a protein we have in our blood that our body makes called haptoglobin, which grabs the iron that's being released when those cells are bursting. It grabs that iron and escorts it because iron, you can't just leave iron alone; it'll cause all kinds of problems. Okay, so you got to grab it. So that's what that protein does. So if you've got hemolysis going on, in other words, your red blood cells are bursting because of G6PD deficiency, and you got something that's causing your red blood cells to burst, then there's going to be a lot of that haptoglobin coming and grabbing the iron. So when I check your level, your haptoglobin will be low because it's being used up, right? Yeah, so that's one way of knowing whether or not we're causing any hemolysis, because sometimes it's not obvious. The urine's not red, and there's, So anyway, it's a good way to check. So hers stayed fine. Fine was a little elevated, and so we had 15 grams. We did this for maybe 3 weeks, 4 weeks, maybe 8 weeks. Because I thought, well, we're just going to never get past that. And then I saw that her haptoglobin stayed up. So why don't we just increase? So we went up to 20 grams and checked, and they didn't go down. Wow. I expect her haptoglobin to go down because I'm sure she would be hemolyzing. She wasn't. So we went up to 25 grams. And I said, wait a minute, let me check that G6PD again. I checked it. It was like 15, 16. It had been restored. How was it restored? Because she had some, it was deficient, but it was there and she had it. And by challenging it with these low levels all the time, it stimulated the body. It gave it a kickstart to start producing more. So it upregulated the ability to produce it. And then when I mentioned that, I don't know if you remember at the conference, but Dr. Schallenberger himself said, yeah, I had the same situation happen to me with ozone. So he's done that. He must have given people low levels of ozone and did the same thing. So that's really one thing you can do. Does it happen all the time? I don't know, because that was the first time I ever really did that. But I will certainly do it again and again and again. And if you've got any G6PD, that means you have the ability. Let's just challenge that. Let's challenge that ability and increase it. Okay. And I think we can do that with a lot of things. We do that with a lot of things. So that's the answer to that question. Okay. Denise. Now, Dana said, Dana, I hope someone sent you a message. These are website questions. Someone sent you a message or showed you where I did actually answer your question last week. Okay, so your question was about you had a port put in, and then you found out you had a staph infection, and they put you on antibiotics, and you wanted to know if there was anything you could that would have worked instead of the antibiotics, or is that it? And you're taking probiotics, and you wanted to get off the antibiotics, which makes a lot of sense. And so, as I explained to you, yes, there are other things other than um, antibiotics, and I'm not, and as I said, I wasn't sure of your situation, but if you had an infected port and there was now, was it in the skin? Was that all inflamed and had pus in it and stuff like that? Or was it whenever they would infuse anything through the port, you'd get shaking, chills, and stuff because the bacteria or other microorganisms were going in the blood? Because that can happen too. And I checked your port and your peripheral, a peripheral and a central. Um, did have did have. So then they, as I remember, they took out your port eventually after 3 weeks, I think. And then you said, then you had a pick line and all that stuff, which are really cumbersome, and you can't do much. You can't shower. I mean, you got to put them in a plastic bag to shower and everything because you got these tubes hanging out of you, and they're a bummer. Yeah, so that's why ports are better because they're under the skin, so they're safe. You can shower, you can swim, you can do whatever, as long as the needle's not in there, it's not access. Okay, so um, yeah, so I was saying you could have another one put in, usually on the other side. Um, and did you need antibiotics at the time? Uh, I don't know. I don't know how serious things were, but there are other things you can give intravenously. You can give intravenous allicin, which is the extract of garlic, which is amazing. You can give real colloidal silver from a company called Immunogenics. They make Argentin 23. It's the only real colloidal silver, and it's amazing. But the person has to know how to give it. You can't mix it with anything. You've got to give it by itself. You got to give it slowly. Again, you got to watch for hemolysis because why? Because silver is and water is, or the colloidal silver is what is known as uh, it's hyperosmolar relative to the blood, so it would cause the blood cells to burst. Right. So you have to give it slowly, but again, silver will do it. So there's other ways of doing it. High doses of vitamin C and ozone work as well. It depends on the degree of septicemia, bacteremia that you had in your blood and all that sort of thing. Um, and you said staph, it was staphylococcus. I don't know if it was staph epidermidis, which is this stuff that lives on our skin, or staph aureus, or uh, you know, methicillin resistant stuff. I don't know what you had. So but were other ways of doing it. But you are where you are now, so that's cool. So just okay. I'd get a new port put in, and I would also make sure your doctors they have a strategic, specific plan for you, and it's based upon what they have ascertained are your problems. Because it's not just I have a tumor somewhere. It's not that. There's all sorts of things that are part of the whole thing. The tumor is just one expression of an underlying systemic imbalance, multiple imbalances. And so, do they have? Are they like correcting those imbalances? Are they improving your physiology while they are non-toxically eliminating the tumor? Okay, that's what you want to be sure they're doing. Okay, and then okay, so we have a question from Hayes, and Hayes says, "My question is on kidney tumor. I did ivermectin, fenbendazole, niclosamide in the doses you suggested 3 times a day with ketogenic diet, and the tumor of 18 centimeters grew to 21 centimeters in 9 months. Not sure what I am doing wrong. I have included quercetin, CBD, spirulina, nattokinase, vitamin D3, high dose zinc, colloidal silver in my water, serapeptase, and other supplements. My blood sugar and ketones were below, so my glucose ketone, my GKR, my glucose to ketone ratio is 1.0 for a month or more. Wow. Not sure what I am missing. Maybe it's not CFCs, but benign tumor. How do you treat tumors? Long water fasting. Okay. Well, all right. Okay. So keep in mind that Hayes and everybody, keep in mind that whatever's going on, whatever's growing in you, uh, has taken at least 8 to 10 years. 8 to 10 years, at least. And what we're attempting to do is change the body's terrain so that it no longer needs to do that. It's not doing it for no reason. It's doing it as an adaptive response. So if we can eliminate the reason why those cells are needing to go through that adaptive dance, then they'll stop doing it, because that's not what they were designed to do. They were designed to do other things. Wherever it is, if it's breast, if it's colon, pancreas, brain, blood, doesn't matter. Okay, so they're adapting. So let's make them, put them in a position where they're not adapting. So when I hear something like what you're describing, I know that one or both of two things is occurring. Number one, we have not eliminated whatever toxic events were involved originally. Yeah, we have not. We have not eliminated those. And is there a way? No, I still can't do it. Right? It's not going to let me do that. It's not going to let me do that. Thumbnails. Am I supposed to know what a thumbnail means? A thumbnail. Okay. Yeah. I'm sorry. I'm actually born last century, so a thumbnail to me means this thing here. Okay, that's a thumbnail. If there's another definition for thumbnail, can you tell me what it is, instead of just assuming that I know? Because I won't say to you something like myelodysplastic syndrome and assume that you know what it is, okay? And I won't use the word hemolysis or haptoglobin and assume that you know what it is, okay? So don't give me thumbnail. You can always do it. I don't want to, and I don't care what thumbnails are, really. So I'll never be able to do this, really. You guys all like this stuff, huh? Do you guys all you like this? Is this, I mean, do you feel blessed and fortunate that we were born in this, when we were born, so we have access to all this uh, artificiality that requires our body to adapt? Anyway, so now you didn't say anything about biological dentistry, and that is like 1,000,000,000% important. Okay, because just to let you all know, the minute you put something in your mouth, it goes into your bloodstream, right? How do I know that? Because you've done sublingual drops of whatever, right? You do sublingual, so it goes in your blood. It bypasses you don't have to swallow it, right? Okay, so we absorb things immediately. Anything that goes in our mouth, all right? So now, what is in our mouth besides what we eat? Well, if we have any microorganisms or heavy metals or regular metals or whatever we have in our mouths, it's also everything is shedding and turning over, except what part of our body doesn't shed? Is there any part? Yes. Anybody know? Anybody know what part of our body doesn't shed? I can't tell if you guys are. Anyway, the answer is teeth. Teeth. Teeth does not shed. Do not shed. Yeah. Anyway, so whatever's going on in your mouth is going on in your system, and it's also going down into your. And we swallow about at least a liter of saliva per day. Okay. And remember, saliva is a saline solution, and it's got lots of other. It's got proteins and all sorts of stuff in it. And it's also got, some of the whatever you've been breathing wherever you are, and whatever's gotten into your mouth and all that stuff. So it's not necessarily the full of healthy nutrients and things like that, or it's not necessarily benign. So you swallow that, and then where does it go? It goes, well, if you're healthy, it'll go into a stomach which has a very low pH, meaning it's a very acidic, like a pH of 1.5. All right. And that'll pretty much disassociate and eliminate most things. So it's a good pH to have, but a lot of us don't have it because we're not making enough acid, right? And especially if we're 40 years old or over, then we're starting not to make it anyway. Unless, of course, you're from the Hunza tribe. That might not happen until you're 80, 90, 100. But for us, it happens early. So whatever's in your mouth is being absorbed, and it's going down through the GI tract, and your liver has to do work with it and all that. And it is now, if you've got a root canal, or you've got a cavitation, or you've got gingivitis, you've got your gums are bleeding or receding or bleeding or anything like that. What does that tell you? That tells you that your gut microbiome is off, because your gut and your mouth are connected. They're contiguous. All right. So that tells you that for number one. Number one is what it tells you. So you've got to work on your gut and your mouth. In other words, it's all one system, and you've got to work on it. But if you have any root canals in there, they are so toxic. Weston Price, way back, 110 years ago, and other guys have done it, very respected people, would take an infected root canal, they're all infected, a root canal out of someone's mouth who had, for example, coronary artery problems, right? Or heart problems, and put it into a rabbit, and the rabbit would develop the coronary artery problems. Or the person had ulcerative colitis, put into the rabbit would get ulcerative colitis. Or the person had CFCs of their pancreas. Okay, so that's how significant this stuff is. So if you have to have taken care of that, and you have to have gone to the right kind of person. You can't just go to a regular dentist, and they can't do a 2D X-ray, right? They've got to do a 3D cone beam, because the only way they can tell if there are any, like, actual cavitations, caves, holes in the jawbone where there are where there are colonies upon colonies of organisms that have mutated, and they're anaerobic. They don't use oxygen, and they're producing all kinds of toxins. And these toxins are going into your blood. They're going into your along your meridians. And what are your meridians? Meridians are little circuits in our body, right? You got a circuit for your bathroom light, bedroom light, and kitchen light. And if they all go out at once, you just change the fuse, right? Because you broke the circuit. All right. So we've got circuits all over our body, and they all go through our teeth. And so if you've got anything in your, like a metal in your mouth, or a cavitation, which is an infection in the bone above the tooth or below the tooth, the jaw, or you've got a root canal, okay, it is on a tooth that is on a certain circuit, meridian. And so that circuit has been broken. And so the energy required for those organs to function isn't there anymore. and so they are in trouble. And so you got to take care of that. So I'm assuming you did, hoping you did, and you went to someone who really knew what they were doing. Yeah. So let's assume that was done. Okay. Now, the other one, you did a thorough cleanse. You drank nothing but fresh juices with all that, like, celery, cucumbers, kale, spinach. I don't, whatever you want to put in, bok choy. You can put in carrots, red peppers, green peppers. You can put in what you want to put in, as long as you got those four fundamentals, if you can, the kale, spinach, cucumber, and celery. And you can put some lemon. You can put apples. Make it delicious. If you got to make it a little sweeter than normal, but I mean, make it sweet. We'll talk about to make it delicious, because the goal of a juice, you've got to get them out. If you have two metals, first of all, implants are usually titanium, and titanium is not pure titanium. It's a titanium alloy, which means it's got two different metals in it. When you have two different metals, whether they're in the same alloy or next to each other or across the street here and here, there's a phenomenon, especially since you have saliva. Saliva is a salt solution, and it becomes a battery. It's called battery mouth, and you're producing electrical currents, and those electrical currents are disturbing your brain. The electromagnetic frequencies in your brain, the electromagnetic frequencies from your heart, and then you've got your heart brain complex, and we've got all this stuff going on that is on a frequency level that is really fundamental to our lives, that's being disturbed. So yeah, and also around those implants and in those implants, microorganisms go and they get up into your. Yes, you've got to get them removed, and you've got to get them replaced with zirconium. And you go to a biological dentist, and what they will do is they will check your blood biocompatibility. They send it off to a special lab where they have there's like 9,600 different dental chemicals that are used, dental substances that are used in orthotics, and restorative materials and cements, and all the things that dentists use. So you got to make sure you don't have a reaction to something that other people don't, because if you do, then that will stimulate your body. Oh, okay. All right. So I had to verify again, on TikTok, because why? Because I am run by my boss in life is artificial idiocy. Yeah, yeah. To do what it requires. Why? Because I rely on it, and yeah, I learned to be okay with that, right? Okay, anyway, so I just fixed it. I just pushed the puzzle there. Why do they have you do that? Why do they have you do that? It's kind of like when I go to the airport. Why do I go through TSA? Why? Do you think TSA has ever found anybody carrying a bomb? If you're serious about doing something like that, you're not gonna carry it with you and go through TSA. You're gonna get a job as one of the guys that loads the planes, or works with the food, or you're not gonna you know I'm gonna go blow up a plane. Yeah, I'm gonna put the stuff in my pants. I'll put one in my suitcase. Sure, no one's gonna do that. So why is the TSA there? You got it. Same reason we went to school. Why did we go to school? To learn? No way. Could have learned at home. Could learn to read at home. Why did we go to school? We learned to go to school. That can I go to the bathroom, please? Wait, oh, the bell rang. I better get up. We to be good citizens. What is a good citizen? A good citizen is someone who follows the rules, right? And not just those obvious rules, but also the rules, the rules of conduct, of being sociable, right? Of saying the right things. And the right things are determined by whom? Well, that's another story. It depends on the prevailing zeitgeist. Desho, desho. So desu ne. Yeah, the prevailing zeitgeist. And the prevailing zeitgeist right now in planet Earth, emanating from the primary tumor called the United States, is you know, I'm going to probably get kicked off. I can't even say this. So I won't say it. But you know what I mean. You know what's emanating, and it stinks. Anyway, so we learn how to be good citizens and do the right thing and follow the rules. And yeah, because I want to be good. And I want my kids to go to school, and I want them to learn how to be successful in this society, because that is really the goal in life. Why do we want to be successful in this society? Well, if you're successful in this society, then you get to buy a bunch of things. Yeah. And you get to get a big house, and you get to get all these toys and new clothes, and people will pretend to respect you. Yeah. It's fantastic. I want to be successful. That's success, right? No. Does it make you happy? No. But I want my kids. You know, I want them to get a good education. What's a good education? Okay. Again, our assumptions. Huh. Why is it that homeschooled children actually perform better on exams than people who are in the best schools? Anyway, these are questions, okay? Rhetorical questions for you to ponder and consider and answer yourself. All right? Anyway, so getting back to that question. So, you know, you have to have done a cleanse, and that includes cold, you know. So, how long do you do that juice cleanse? 3 weeks, 4 weeks, 5 weeks, 8 weeks? As long as you can. The longer you do it, the better, because you're drinking all this water. Juice is like 98, 99% water, and you're getting what? Tons of nutrients. You're getting everything but fat and fiber. It's highly nutritious, and you're cleaning the water in your aquarium. You're getting changing through all the interstitial fluid, which is the fluid that bathes your cells, and it's that fluid to which your cells are adapting. So the good news there is empowerment. All right? Because your healing is not going to come from the best doctor in the world. Well, gosh, he was number one. He was one of the top 100, and I saw it in yeah, when I was in Arizona. I don't know, every so often I have on some magazine while I'm at Sprouts waiting to check in, and it says the top 100 doctors of Phoenix. Well, based on what? Based on what? I don't care. It said best, so I'm going to go with it. Yeah, I'm going to go with it. Yeah. Anyway, you want to clean out. So you want to drink this juice. You're going to get all that, and you're going to all the water, and you're going to just urinate and diarrhea and cleanse and just change all the fluid. Okay. While you're doing that, you want to be getting some chelation. You want to be sure you're getting out heavy metals, and you can be doing that at home. You could be taking You can get your holistic provider to give you compounding pharmacy DMSA 500 milligrams. You can take it maybe 2 to 3 evenings a week just before bed. You can also get oral and or suppository EDTA, so you can get another group of metals. Take those, take binders, right? You know, the fulvic and humic acids to bind up some of the toxins. Yeah, so it's an active process, and doesn't you know when do you think I'll be done detoxing? Never. And by the way, we don't detox. It's not, again, transitive verbs, okay? A transitive verb is a subject performs an action on a direct object. So when we say I'm going to detox, something I'm gonna do. You can't do it. We wouldn't know how to begin. Okay, we wouldn't know how to begin to stimulate the appropriate enzymes. We wouldn't know how to, we don't even know what it means. So it's not something we do. Okay, it's something that happens. And when does it happen? When you give your body a break and stop stuffing it with stuff. Just give it some water and read some books on healing and cleansing and fasting. And your body will do what it was designed to do, and that is clean up, eliminate that which is unnecessary. That's what it does. We put a name on it. We call it detoxification. But we don't just stick with the word detoxification because, I don't know, because we're cool. You know, we're not cool. What are we? What's the word? What do we say now? We're sick. We're sick. We're bad. We're dope. Whatever the words are. Anyway, and so, we call it detox. Yeah, I'm detoxing. That's like, by the way, you guys, and I know there's too many of you out there that do this. I know this, I'm always surprised that everybody does that. Uses this word. Okay, now, I thought it was just people who were from the South, like, because that's kind of the way they grew up learning how to speak. Like, I don't know, Tennessee or Alabama or maybe, or I don't know. I don't really know the South that well, so I can't say. But you know, I'm gonna send you an invite. You don't send an invite because the word invite is a verb, and you can't perform an action on an action. You gotta have an object, a thing. So when you turn invite into a thing, it becomes an invitation. So I will send you an invitation. You can't send an invite. But you're all doing that, right? I can't believe it. Everybody's doing it. Don't let our language get any more degraded than it has. Come on. And write out FOR, not the number 4. And don't give me you. We're not making a U-turn. Come on. Come on. Let's give some respect to the language before, because I will tell you, go to the library. Do they have libraries anymore? I don't know. But anyway, if they have libraries, go to the library and get a novel from 1850 or 1890 or 1910, a novel, and read it. See what they say. You want to see how the American language was, how different it was than it is now. The working vocabulary, the grammar, I mean, way different. So we've not only degraded, so now we have a difficult time even putting sentences together, and we can't. And our working vocabulary is very small. But now we want to make it even worse. We're going to make it even worse. We're not going to even learn to spell. We're going to for you. Okay, because why? Because we're cool? No, because we're stupid. All right, so don't be stupid. Don't, it's like, I remember my kids, they were, do you remember the fad where everyone was wearing really baggy pants? You know where that started? From prisons. So, hey, that's a good culture. Let's, anyway, speak our language. Let's speak our language. Let's read our language. Let's express ourselves. And let's not use idioms. Let's not use acronyms. Let's speak, because we don't use their words. I don't say NAD. No evidence of disease. First, back on. Is it back on? It keeps going off. I wonder why. Anyway, so, and I know the you think the question wasn't answered, but it is being answered. Okay, so we've got to cleanse everything completely, and then we've got to wake up our immune system because it's been put to sleep. All right, and that has to do again. And are you going to bed early? Or do you have any toxic relationships? Do you have any toxic relationships? Are you afraid all the time? Are you walking around in fear? I mean, all these are all like not just minor things, but they are everything. They're central to it all. And a lot of people are hung up on their perception of something that happened to them in the past. And they can't, or they won't let go of it. And it just disturbs me. When I was, okay, I get it. It was painful, but it's not there now, right? So now you get to live, right? Because you're still alive, right? You made it through that. Yay. Okay, let's go on. Let's go on with life. But I was okay. I was whatever. I was too. What about the kid in Baghdad? What about the kid in Baghdad who turned around and saw his parents get blown up, and then he went and hid for the next 3 or 4 years? You think that's trauma? Are we the ones that have the worst trauma in the world? Have you been around the world? Have you seen people having trauma? I remember getting off the plane in Bombay, um, in 1971. Naive as hell, walking down, and then wa- we were in a taxi, and I was driving on the street, and I saw a level of poverty that I had never imagined. Never imagined. Tens of thousands of people on the street, on each side of the street, with a cloth on the bottom and 4 sticks and a cloth on top. That was their home. And they didn't even think that it was possible to ever consider that their lives would be different, that they could get out of that. They were just in the moment trying to get what they could for the moment. And I noticed too that they were kind of joking around with each other and laughing and still loving and living and all that. But I mean, I saw a level of poverty that is I'd never never imagined. And then I mean, that was only the beginning of my trip to India. But I've been all over. So I'm just saying, yes, you had trauma. I had trauma. Other people have trauma. Okay. Okay. That's why we're alive. We're alive to experience. We're in the flesh. The reason we're in the flesh is so that we can experience the flesh. Otherwise, we would just be brains and we'd have books, brains and books, and that's it, right? No, no. And that's why you can't tell your kids not to do things. They have to do it. Yeah. Don't make the same mistake I did. They have to. That's why they're born. And that's why you made that mistake. You can't tell your kids, don't play on the stairs. Let them play on the stairs. I mean, get them down to a point where they're not going to die, and then let them play and fall. And they'll fall once. They'll learn how. They'll figure it out. It's like putting your hands in the fire. You put your hands in the fire, ooh, once. Okay. So that's why we're alive. We're alive to experience and all that, but we're not alive to get broken up by our perception of something. I mean, I had a doctor working with me, wonderful lady who grew up in a truly ghetto situation where she was abused physically, sexually. She was she grew up in Harlem. Um, she was extremely overweight. I mean, you can't. There was everything going against her, and she went to medical school. She figured, and she, it's just like, nothing, and no one, I'm just saying. So that didn't prevent her perception of what happened at that time did not change what she's going to do today. So as I'm saying, so we're talking about the psychotherapy and I know hammer and all hammer lesions and all that sort of thing. And let's work them out. Okay, let's work them out. Or how about let's not work them out? How about let's transcend them and let's forget them? If there was any way I could give a shot to somebody to give them amnesia, I would. Forget it all. We're going to get hung up on, do you know what happened? When was it? I don't remember when it was, but I think it was. But I was either 17 or 18. But what was it? Well, okay. We're going to talk about that. Why don't we just like go outside, or why don't we talk about something else? How you doing today? No, I got to talk about what happened. I can't let go of it. All right, so I'm not into it. Listen, I used to work in the field of psychology, and it wiped me out much more than I could be on. Listen, I was as an intern resident. I was on call 130 hours a week. There's only 168 hours in a week. Keep that in mind. But I get more exhausted when I was a psychologist, 8 hours a day, because oh my god, I'm listening to these. Oh my god, and there's no way out. And so if you try to okay, the story you're telling yourself, ma'am or dude, is not making you feel good. Let me give you a better story. Try this story. But they're all stories. They're just stories. And they're not here now. If there's here now, like you got a husband or a wife or something that's giving you a problem, that's a problem. We should deal with that now because that's something that's happening. But if it happened and it's no longer happening, okay, it's no longer happening. But it wounded me. Oh, okay. Well, don't wounds heal? Yeah, but this one won't heal because why? Because I keep picking the scab off because I like to revisit my wound. Well, see, we're getting somewhere. Anyway, so there's a lot of stuff. What I'm trying to say is we got to detoxify our minds or everything like that. We got to learn to turn our minds off. We have to learn to be silent in our minds. It's very difficult, but there are methodologies of doing that. All of those things. And then we need some peptides. We need MET5-methionine and kephalin to change our tumor microenvironment. We need thymosin alpha-1 to increase our T cell production. And we need GHK and epithalin. Those will really are amazing for our immune system, right? And then if we're if you can get a hold of interleukin 2 and GC moth, but you don't just use them at any time. You got to know how to do it. There's certain ways to do it, but there's ways to work on the immune system. And you know what the best immune enhancer and modulators is? Learning to shut off your mind. Because the moment your mind is shut off, your immune system goes through the roof. Psychoneuroimmunology, the king of them all. Or should I say queen of them all? Or should I say them of it all? Or it of it all? Or shall I say us of it all? Or what's the proper pronoun here? Or noun? Can we just use nouns? If we don't use pronouns, then we just use nouns. Wouldn't that be easier? Then we don't have to get into all that gender stuff, right? Which actually, remember, it's not really gender, but what is it really? What is it? Y'all remember? It's phenotype. 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 You can't change your genotype. Cannot change your genotype. Cannot change your genotype. Did I say that? I said that. Is it true? It's true. Fact check. Check fact. Fact check. Go check. Check. How do you change your genes? Don't. Can you change your phenotype? Yeah. You can put your ear here, and you can put your nipple here. Yeah, anything you want. And you will be a transpheno, I promise. So, anyway, so that's what I'm saying. That, and it sounds like you're doing lots of good stuff. But remember, when you do those antiparasitics, like you said you were doing, it's not going to happen once. You got to keep doing it and keep doing it and keep doing it, because these guys keep laying eggs. And they're not fooling around. They're laying like 20,000 eggs a day. And then each one of them grow up to lay 20,000 eggs a day. I mean, we're talking about like whoa, you got to do cycles, 3 weeks on, 1 week off, 3 weeks on, 1 week off. That's what you got to do. Yeah, that's what you got to do. I forgot my. See, I got to take vitamin C sometimes because, in this form, because I forget to put my 7 to 7. But it's okay. I didn't do it today because, I was too busy dealing with artificial things. And you know how important it is to keep your artificial world intact, right? Extremely important. So anyway, that's what I was going to say to you, Hayes. But you're doing good stuff. Of course, it's in CBD, spirulina, and natokinase. So you're doing it in the right dose. I hope the natokinase is at least 2 pills 2 to 3 times a day, empty stomach. I hope that the spirulina is, if you get real fresh, reliving spirulina, fantastic. If not, get those things. A lot of it. And remember, broccoli sprouts, nut milks. You need flax seeds, 3 tablespoons ground, and freshly ground, and chia seed porridges, and there's a whole thing like that. And and remember, you're not trying to get rid of anything. You're trying to be restored to health. Remember, please, everyone, stop. Get off these military exercises. We're not here to kill anything. We're here to restore health. We're on a positive, beautiful, wonderful journey, and we're all on it together. We're all on it together. That's the journey. The journey is to be in a state of health, which is what? Optimal functioning. And you know what that requires? That requires not only everything that we do, but everything that the people around us do. So we're all in this together. We're all in this together. Okay? We are all in this together, because the way you feel affects the way I feel. If I see you sad, I'm sad. If I see you happy, that makes me happy. So here's from Mara. How do you, dear? Here you go, Mara. HDIVC. Don't do that. You can write it out. Take the time. High dose intravenous vitamin C. Yeah. And ozone IV. How do they compare? Dr. Rowan, who you recommended, prefers ozone, but a 5-hour drive is not easy. I understand that, especially I understand that. and you have the ability to get the pure C locally. Great. Okay, the pure C is that pure sodium ascorbate that you can get from a company called Pure C, Purc. Lady that owns it, his name is Lior. It's the only vitamin C to inject into your arms, in your veins. And I'm not like, I don't make money from that. I don't have any business affiliation. That's all I use. I'm just telling you what I do. I don't make money from any of this. I don't know how I get money, but I don't get a lot of it, but I get some. But anyway, I drive one used car. I don't even have two used cars. So anyway, and I'm not just talking about used last year. I'm talking about used. Um, well, I forgot GKI. GK. You can't get rid of glutamine because your body will make it. Your body will make the glucose. So don't even worry about that. Just eat healthy, wonderful, fresh, fantastic food. Eat it within a 6 hour, 4 to 6 hour period. Stop eating 4 hours before sleep. Take care of your bowels in the morning. Do an enema or something. Remember, enemas are medical flossing. Like, instead of dental flossing, medical flossing is used an enema to clean out your colon, clean it out. Eat healthy, eat the way I said, do all that sort of thing. And let's get the immune system working again. And we got to learn to turn out. We can't make that something that we'll get around to later. We have to remember that the most important thing in healing is our psycho-spiritual health. Okay? That's everything. That is the core of our being. Okay? And if it's unbalanced in any way, it's that manifests in our mind and our bodies. So we got to figure out the cleansing, and then we got to get you on and then I don't know what all the other stuff you're taking, but I sent I think we need another talk. Did we ever have one? I don't know. But if I had recommended it, like I suggested, okay. But I don't know what you mean by ketogenic diet either. There's so much misinformation out there. Okay, now this is from Barbara, and she says, I'm wondering how to stop the growth of lesions in the brain and now spine. My diagnosis is ependymoma on the brain stem. I've had 3 craniotomies and 6 weeks of radiation. I've tried many products with multiple supplements, as well as a very clean diet, including juicing. But nothing has stopped the slow growth and now spread. Okay, Barbara, I hear you. What have you done with your wherever you live? You got to find a true biological dentist. Dr. Emma Abramayan is in Glendale, California, and she's like the platinum standard. You compared, everyone's got to compare to her, and like no one really does. However, if you can get a hold of her and then even ask her, like wherever you are, maybe she can tell you somebody that she would go to herself. But if you can get to her, because you got to take care of that. You've got to take care of that. I've mentioned before that I had a surgical oncologist come to me with a glioblastoma, which, as you know, so what an ependymoma is that these our brain is our brain is what I call them are full of cells that are not really nerve cells, but they're supportive cells, right? So astrocytes, microglia, ependymal cells, oligodendrocytes, and they all have different functions. Well, the function of the ependymal cells are the cells that line the uh, the tubes that carry the fluid, the cerebral spinal fluid and all that, right? And so they're responsible for the homeostasis of that area, for the production, for the balance of that area. They're responsible for the production of uh, uh, cerebral spinal fluid, and you know, and with their brothers, the microglia, who are like the macrophages of the immune system. Um, yeah. So remember, so that fluid, that cerebral spinal fluid, is sort of does a lot of things. It carries nutrients, and it acts as a cushion. And anyway, it maintains proper pressures. It does lots and lots and lots of different things. So the only difference between what you have and somebody else is just, again, location. Where did it start? It started in the ependymal cells. All right. So um, so you've had craniotomies, meaning, for those that you don't know, they opened up the cranium and they tried to take it out, and then they're using radiation to try to um, kill it, and it keeps growing back, and that's what they do, because the source has not been removed. Whatever is causing it has not been identified and eliminated. So you have got to go to a true biological dentist. Okay, you've got to get that out. You've got to find out what is in there. Okay, so I mean, you got to go and get a 3D cone beam CT of your jaws, and give a call to Dr. Emma. All right, Emma Abramayan in Glendale, California, and ask her, maybe do a consult with her. She does consults on the phone, on Zoom, um, and send her an email, um, or find someone in your area. I don't know where you live. I don't even know where in the world you are. Um, so California may be, excuse me, completely out of the question. And if it is, then we can find someone. We got to find someone near you. I found a great lady in Manila, Philippines, and there are people in the U.S. and Canada, in Europe. They're all over. But they got to be the real deal. The real deal. They don't put in root canals. They don't fix root canals. They don't try to save root canals. They don't put any metal in your mouth. They don't use titanium or titanium alloys. They don't use any metal in the mouth. They do biocompatibility testing to make sure that you're not going to have even an idiosyncratic reaction to whatever substance is being used. They look at your airway. They look at your tongue placement. They look at your cranial bones. They look at your temporomandibular joint, and they look at your occlusal, your occlusion. They really look at the whole head, and why is that especially important to you? Because you're talking about the brain, which is in the head. Okay, so you've got to understand that this is. I hope you have done that, and if you haven't, do it yesterday. Okay. And then regarding protocols, if you do that, you got to do all that, and then begins the act of cleansing. You got to cleanse the rest of the body. That means doing juice cleanses. That means doing all the things that we talk about. Eating real food, human food. I mean, okay, not fly food or dog food. Real human food, and breathing air, breathing with your diaphragm, getting outside, moving around, walking. I mean, there's all sorts of things to being healthy. And health, by the way, is obtained in only one way. And what is that way? We all know what that way is because I've said it many times, and it's only makes common sense. The only way to get healthy is by healthy living. Can't buy it. Very wealthy people are willing to pay anything, but you can't buy it. Health is earned. So, anyway, Barbara, I'd love to interact with you more and find out how else I can help. But I mean, that's really, really number one. And then you got to do cleansing and all that. Okay, so now, so Barbara, maybe we should talk somehow. Anyway, this guy came with the surgical oncology. He had a glioblastoma multiforme. Had 2 or 3 craniotomies. Had radiation, chemo, and it kept coming back. And he had implants. He had root canals. He had anyway. Got rid of that. Did anti-parasitic medications. Did all the other stuff, the vitamin C and everything we do. And he's better. It's going away. It's not growing. And that's a glioblastoma because those are very bad reputation, right? All right. Now, this is what do you call it? This is Dahlia. Dahlia. How to treat prostate CA with metastasis. Wow. So the patient is on Nubeqa, 600 milligrams twice a day. Lupron, 125 milligrams a day. PSA is below 4 and testosterone 0. Patient is 90 years old and he had prostate CA for 3 years. Dahlia. I hope you've been listening to me, but I'm glad you contacted me. And anybody else out there that's got prostate, and remember, whatever you say for the prostate, the exact same thing goes for breast and ovary. Well, there's a guy named Dr. Morgentaler, Abraham Morgentaler, and he is a professor at Harvard. And he's what is known as a preparation H. And what is a preparation H? A preparation H is someone who goes to Harvard undergrad, college, university, and then to Harvard Medical School, and then to a residency and fellowships in Harvard. All Harvard, they're preparation H. So he's a preparation H. He's still there. So anyway, in the world of Rockefeller, in the world of the mythological world of Jesus, he's got pretty good credentials. He's a professor of urology. Now, he wrote a paper, I forget how long ago it was. I think mid-90s or something. I forget. Anyway, it was called Testosterone and Prostate Cancer, a Historical Perspective on a Modern Myth. And what he did was he went back into the literature and tried to find out how did this become dogma. And he found out, I think, in 1941, there was a study by Huggins, and found out it was a flawed study and all that. It had a very small number of people. Anyway, based on that, it became dogma that Testosterone causes prostate CFCs or feeds it. And we said, right, we these are flesh-colored robots that we are, right? Non-thinking, right? Our brains are just there for what? Oh, kind of like packing, to keep the skull. We don't necessarily need to use our brains. I mean, what the heck? Um, yeah. So we said, okay, even though we know that the 30-year-old guy, 32-year-old guy who goes to the Gold's Gym every day, twice a day, who's got arms bigger, his arms are bigger than my thighs, and he has an erection from morning till night, right? He's probably sweating testosterone, and he doesn't have it. Who does have it? Over there who's like 65 and I'm going to do that, right? So he's on two drugs, right? So he's on this Nubequa, which is an androgen receptor blocker inhibitor. So what does it do? The androgen, which is testosterone, can't get on that. Its receptor. And you're doing the Lupron, which is knocking out the hypothalamic pituitary testes pathway. So he's not making any testosterone. So it's zero. But it's still growing. Why is it still growing? Because it has nothing to do with it. Very little. Very little. Now, remember, but what does have something to do with it? And what is necessary for prostate? If you want to grow prostate CFCs in the dish, how can you turn a healthy cell into a prostate cell? You need, will testosterone do it? No, not alone. What do you have to add? Estrogen. If you add estrogen, they grow. But we all remember that there are two kinds of estrogen receptors. There's alpha and beta, and alpha are the ones that make things grow, and beta make them shrink, right? We know that. Okay, so now estrone and estradiol make them grow. Estriol makes them shrink. Anything else make them shrink? Yeah. There is a isoflavone in soy called genistein. And another one called diazine. And you know what? It turns out that they make it go away. And they are what they call phytoestrogen. Soy is dangerous. Don't take it. Okay, again, not true and makes no sense. Why does it make no sense? Well, because, estrogen really causes breast CFCs, right? Yes. But wait a minute. Don't the Japanese live 10 years longer than us? And don't they eat soy all day long? Don't ask those questions. Don't ask those questions. They're irrelevant. Our studies show. Anyway, as it turns out, that the reason that soy protects is because genistein and diazine are isoflavones that act like soy, act like estrogen, except they bind to the beta and they make things shrink. So, and way back when there was an interesting study. They looked at the amount of prostate CFCs in Japan, where they eat a lot of soy, and they found that they had 12.6 people per 100,000 men per 100,000 men would get it. 12.6. compared with the US, it was getting 119.9, 120, instead of 12, 120. But what they noticed is that if the Japanese moved to the US, the next generation and subsequent generations of Japanese Americans no longer got it at the low rate. They got it at the rate of what the average American gets. And so they realized diet has something to do with it. Right? And then you might have heard of you should eat the fermented and not the non-fermented. What is the fermented? The fermented is natto. The fermented is miso. The fermented is tempeh. The unfermented is tofu and edamame. It turns out when they did a large meta-analysis, they looked at multiple clinical trials over they found out that they both work. What's the difference between eating fermented soy and eating unfermented soy? It's just gastrointestinal upset. Now I've eaten a lot of tofu and never had it, so I don't know. But apparently if you eat too much unfermented, it will disturb you, so the fermented is easier to manage. I haven't experienced that, but anyway, it doesn't matter. You can eat tofu, eat all that stuff. So actually, they've done some really serious studies, and they found that here's one of the things that happens to cells when they're going to become or they're turning into tumors. When they're turning into tumors, what they do is they have this. There's what do you call? There's what we call tumor suppressor genes, like P53, PTN, P21. There's different kinds of tumor suppressor genes. They're genes that when they detect a tumor, they gobble it up, get rid of it, biochemically, of course. So those guys get turned off first. It's kind of one of the first steps in what is called carcinogenesis. Well, guess what? Guess what genistein does? You'll never believe it. It blocks that from happening. It doesn't let that happen, which means if you're eating a lot of it, you have much less of a chance of ever developing it. Right? Now, the way that this happens is that there are what they call epigenetic changes that cause these tumor suppressor genes to become inactivated. Now, what they do is they lose the ability. They wind up losing the ability of a very important enzyme called glutathione as transferase, which is an antioxidant, really important and necessary. So anyway, it turns out that the isoflavones from soy turn off those, so they don't let it become. And if they has already become tumor, it's not going to grow anymore. It's going to stop that from happening, right? Well, that's pretty significant. So it increases glutathione as transferase. So now it allows the cells to start cleaning up, right? So that so anyway, that's by methylation, right? So they put, in other words, methyl groups. What is a methyl? A methyl group is a carbon with 4 hydrogens. So it's a completely saturated carbon. It's a methyl. It's just the name. Could have called it Susie. Could have called it Naledi. Could have called it anything, but they called it methyl. So it gets methylated and turns things off. Guess what our body has? Our body has a group of enzymes called deoxygenases who are on patrol all the time. They're driving around. They've got these little cars with like red lights on top of them. And they look for hypermethylated epigenomes and they take off the methyl groups. They hypomethylate. They're methyl removers. Now, these enzymes they don't work unless iron is in a particular valence. In other words, if it's Fe2+, it can't be an Fe3+. So guess what does that in our body? Ascorbate. What is ascorbate? Vitamin C. So ascorbate, just for our normal physiological functioning, we need to have ascorbate to keep our dioxygenase enzymes demethylating and turning off all the epigenetic changes that happen to produce tumors. Wow. So we're talking about ascorbate and soy. All right. Now, remember I told you that there's the other suppressor genes like PTEN, P10, right? And the P53 and the FOXO3A, the other one. Okay, so those are all also, excuse me, those are also turned off. All right. But there's a ton of evidence that shows that genistein also can change that, can turn those, can wake those up, and when they get suppressed, it wakes them up and they're back to work again, getting rid of tumors. Okay, so how does it do it? What does the genistein do? It actually functions as an estrogen receptor beta agonist, turns on the beta response, and that's how it works. So you got two different ways going on there, right? So you can restore the tumor suppressor cells with vitamin C and soy. So you should eat soy all day long and make sure you're getting lots of vitamin C. That's what you should be doing, and that will be really important. Because remember, they can't make prostate cells or breast cells, but prostate cells become chronically fermenting cells with just testosterone. You got to have estrogen. Estrogen is part of the whole thing, but that's estrogen alpha. We're talking about the ones that bind to beta. Okay, it's a very, very important, very, very important thing. So that's what you can do, and you got to get him off all of those blockers because he's on they're blocking his ability to make. He needs testosterone. If he doesn't have testosterone, he's not going to be able to make muscles. He'll get more and more frail and weak. He's going to lose his motivation. Give him testosterone shots. Get his testosterone up. You know that if a man's testosterone drops below 550 for any significant period of time during his life, his risk of getting prostate CFCs increases dramatically. That's right. It's the opposite. Remember, everything you learned is the opposite of the truth. All right. Let me see. We have any time here? Oh, wow, we don't, but it's too bad. Got to get his testosterone up. Got to get him back up to normal. Get him up to normal. Get him strong. Get him feeling. Get him, energetic. Come on. So many questions, you guys. I'm so sorry. I can't answer them all. So, this is from Facebook, and this is Josie. Josie's saying, thus taking supplements such as krill, CoQ10, B12, etc., break a fast. All right. Well, a fast. Remember, when we say fast, we're talking about water. Water is the only fast. Juice is eating a liquid diet, but it's got nutrients. Okay, so water is a fast. So does it break it? Well, not really with the Q10 and the B12, but you don't really need those unless you don't really need them. The water is going to do everything. But krill does break it because krill is a crustacean. It's a small little crustacean, and crustaceans are like what they call invertebrates. They have an exoskeleton. They don't have a vertebra and a vertebral column, like spiders, insects, crabs, shrimp. Yeah, so they're considered the crustacean, right? but they're small. They go from anywhere from less than 1 centimeter up to maybe the largest ones are like 4 to 6 centimeters. So they're still very small. So, but the chitin is made of about 11 or 12% protein. It's made of about 5%, 6% fat, lipids, and it's made of just 0.3 to 0.6% carbohydrate. And then it's also got chitin. Okay, now, and of course some mineral ash, um, but it's a very good source of omega 3s. It's got the EPA and DHA, which you don't really need too much of because you really need just the omega 3 and the omega 6. You don't of the parent oils. You know the linoleic acid and the alpha linolenic acid. All right, so but you know what else it has in those lipids? It's got the phosphatidylcholine as well as phosphatidylethanolamine. But phosphatidylcholine, the abundant, so those are and we can break down chitin. Chitin is basically just a polymer. In other words, it's a group of cells, acetylglucosamine, and we can break it down. But the thing about it is since that molecule is not made by mammals, um, it's considered the immune system sees it as foreign and therefore develops an immune response. So it's kind of a way of stimulating our immune system, and it kind of wakes up both the innate immune system and wakes up uh, the adaptive immune system. It's really good at that, right? So it's supportive of immunity and metabolic health. It's helpful for obesity as well. Now, the problem there's a big there's a big push right now by the remember we've got to come up with a new word for evil, right? Because evil doesn't cut it when we're talking about certain people, right? Like Billy Boy and Klausy the Slav, and there are certain people that we can't use the word evil because they're so far beyond that. It's another whole world, another dimension. Anyway, and they want people to eat bugs, and about 3 billion of us don't really like it. There are about 2 billion people that do eat bugs. And chimps do, and gorillas do, and orangutans do, bonobos do. But if you didn't grow up eating bugs, I don't think you're going to develop a taste for it. I don't think I could. So, but they do. And it makes a big part. And it means, look, it's a complete protein. I mean, it's got these healthy fats, low carb. I mean, what? I don't eat that. I certainly don't. What do they eat? You wouldn't believe it. Beetles, caterpillars, bees, wasps, ants, grasshoppers, crickets, dragonflies, termites. Yeah, that's what like 2 billion people eat. I mean, I talk to Thai people, and yeah, they're fine with it. I'm not, but anyway, the point is this: if you wind up eating some, it's uh, not going to hurt you. So, but I just can't myself. I can't do it. It's kind of like I have the same problem with drinking urine. I don't care how fantastic the stories are and all that. I am not going to drink my urine. You're not? What's wrong with you? I thought you were. Yeah, well, I'm not. Um, And I just saw a thing this week here too that some Japanese scientists actually, I don't know, did anybody see that? It was going around on social media that some Japanese scientists have actually gone into and figured out how to make. Uh, uh, they get human feces because the guy he was working with the Tokyo sewage department. They got human feces and they got some of the microorganisms out of there and got them to be, I don't know what they did. They wound up making proteins and stuff like that. So they wound up making food out of human feces. So again, I don't care. There are certain things I'm not going to do. I don't even know how that ever became a subject of discussion. That's kind of like that reminds me of the subject of men getting pregnant, or that we live on a flat plane that is connected to. Well, we don't talk about that. And what's underneath it? Well, don't talk about that. And anyway, so all these things that have come up that are like, you know, and remember now it's not even what did it used to be, LGBTQ. Now it's plus 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 plus. I think the pluses go out infinitely. And all that is saying is that, yeah, there's a large diversity in our preferences. But actually, when you look at it, it's not that large of a defect. Not that large. I mean, just think about it. There's guys that like girls and girls that like guys. There's guys that like guys, and there's girls that like girls. And there's guys and girls that like both. And there's the guys that want to be girls. And so they get part of their bodies changed and part don't. And then some get all their bodies changed. And there's girls that do the same thing. They change part of their body or all their body. Now, what else? Is there anything else you can do? Oh, yes, I forgot. Yeah, now we've changed our definition of pedophilia. We now call it what? Minor attracted persons or something like that. And it's a lifestyle choice, is what we're being told. What else are we being told? I haven't heard anything yet about bestiality, but I'm sure it's going to enter into the norm. I do know that at least in the United States, or at least in Arizona and probably the West Coast, that if you are a student at the school and you decide that you identify with being a cat, that the school is obliged to put litter boxes in the boys' room and the girls' room. That's right. I mean, I wish I was making that up. I mean, I wish that wasn't something I even had to know. I don't like there are things I don't want to know. But yeah, so I know we've come to that. So yeah. So I think if you can imagine anything, then it should be okay. Anyway, I'm confused. I'm confused because I'm really like, I mean, not old. I hate the word old school, but I'm like really. I still have this fundamental assumption that gravity works. That the most perfect shape of any object in motion is to have no edges. Turns out to be actually a physical fact. I am still of the absolute conviction that you must have a uterus and produce oocytes, eggs, to become pregnant. I just got, and just I don't know. What else am I still stuck on? That the thing about children, I think I don't. It's cool. I mean, if a guy likes a guy and a girl likes it, I mean, that's fine. That's whatever. I mean, the sexuality is a continuum anyway. But the continuum can't go forever. I mean, it can't. I mean, it can't extend to animals and children. It cannot. I mean, I guess it could, but for me, it doesn't. I guess grew up in the wrong era. So there are kind of limits to that. I mean, that I would. I mean, I'm like one of those weird normal people that uh, I'm embarrassed to say it, but heterosexual. Shh. It's so embarrassing. Can you imagine being a heterosexual white male? My God. I don't know if there's anything worse. Is there nowadays anything worse than being a heterosexual white male? No, I guess not. But anyway, I stuck with it. So anyway, these are some great questions, and I never get a chance to answer them all. What are we going to do about this? There are thousands of questions you guys have. I didn't even get to my thoughts on Dr. Seyfried's work. Fantastic, except for ketogenic diet and taking DON so that you get rid of your glutamine, your ability to use glutamine, because if you do that, you're dead. Your 3-year-old daughter has eczema, especially on her legs. If you see eczema, you got to look at your gut flora. You've got to look at your gut flora and your oral flora. Okay, eczema, gut flora, oral flora. Arthritis, flora. Look in the mouth. Yes. Really, I'm serious. Oh my God, here's a question about oxalates, which we're going to have to talk about another time. Anyway, you guys, my ferritin levels are super low. Is it okay to take an oral iron supplement? No, eat spinach, eat broccoli, eat foods. Make sure your stomach is acidic. If you take a couple of hydrochloric acid pills about 15 minutes before you eat, so you have a good acidic stomach, and eat the plants. You don't need to take pills. Okay. You don't. You can get it. And make sure you're taking lots of ascorbate, because the ascorbate and the acid in your stomach will both keep the iron in the proper condition so it can be absorbed. Yeah. So yeah. Oh my gosh, how to save my child stuck in the Western medicine cancer treatment, AML. Myeloid sarcoma. I'm so sorry. I know what I would do. I would remember the 3 most important words from that movie Forrest Gump. And those words were said by the lady, the female leading role, Jenny, and she said to Forrest on multiple occasions, "Run, Forrest, run." I'd get out of whatever country I was in and save my child in a way that would make more sense. That's what I would do if I could. That's what I would do if I could. I would try to figure out a way to get out, because we're in a the walls are getting tighter. We're in prison, you guys. We're in prison. Well, I'm not anymore because I left. I escaped. I got out with, what's his name? Who was that guy? You all liked him, right? You saw that movie, Prison Break. What was his name? Anyway, I liked him. Cool. Yeah, I was in the Prison Break group. I got out. But you guys are still in, huh? I know you are. A lot of you are stuck over there in that world. that world. All right, you guys. Anyway, sawadee kap, kapumakap, kapumakap. Namaste, namaskar, aloha. Have a fantastic week. Be here now. Be here now. Yesterday isn't, tomorrow isn't. It's now. And if you're not here now, you won't be here for the next now. Oh, by the way, there's only one now. But I'm just saying, be here now and be kind and love each other. And yeah, and just, let's enjoy today. We don't know if tomorrow's coming. We know it's coming, but we don't know if we'll be here. None of us know that. None of us know that. So, okay, you guys, sawadee ka. I don't even know if I was on that.